Have you been grinding away on your real estate business, but haven't been seeing the return that you're truly looking for? If you've been investing a lot of your hard-earned money on a strategy or maybe a coaching program or a tactic that isn't really bearing any fruit. However, nothing hurts more than spending money on something with the expectation of the result that you're looking for, but it doesn't come. And then what ends up happening is you just end up continuing to spend the same amount of money. Well, in reality, there's actually a name for it. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. And a lot of real estate agents find themselves in this predicament. It's one of the most painful scenarios to be in, and you can essentially get stuck in it if you're not paying attention. Emmanuel here, and in today's video, I want to go deep into the sunk cost fallacy, how exactly to identify it and hopefully to avoid it. So let's go. Now, before I get into the sweet stuff, please make sure you hit that like button, the subscribe button, and that bell icon to receive notifications whenever we publish videos just like this one here. Show the YouTube algorithm some love so YouTube can show us some love in return, and thank you so much in advance. Now, this topic of conversation comes up because it's been happening quite frequently lately, and I wanted to bring it to the top of your mind. It's actually about this true story of an agent that spends a ton of money on maybe realtor or Facebook ads, expecting a new deal to come in, rushing through the pipeline, but it never happens. So that person just continues to keep spending and waiting. And it's also a true story of the realtor that hires an SEO company, dumps thousands of dollars over the time span of maybe 3 to 5 years on his websites to rank organically on Google, but it never happens. Then that realtor continues to give more money to this SEO company, expecting something to change because he's already invested this much money, so he might as well just keep on going. This is also the story of the real estate team that sent out a direct mailer campaign once, didn't get any new appointments, gave up after several months, and then decided to do another round of direct mail marketing in the hopes that things will change. Now, if any of these stories sound somewhat similar to something you've experienced, it's because it's rampant and occurs quite frequently to individuals like yourself on a regular basis. And the truth of the matter is, these 3 stories that I just named are just to name a few. There are actually multiple variations that I hear on a regular basis because many agents don't really know how to identify it or what to do when they do run into it. Well, my friends, please allow me to shed some light into what's happening so that you are better informed. Now, my hope is that the next time this happens, you'll be able to identify yourself in this particular predicament so that you know how to get yourself out of it quickly. And this particular predicament that I'm referring to is the sunk cost fallacy. Now, by definition, the sunk cost fallacy describes our tendency to follow through on an endeavor if we have already invested time, effort, or money into it, whether or not the current costs outweigh the benefits. Typically, the sunk costs are costs that we have already incurred. We then make irrational decisions because we are influenced by these sunk costs. If we were to think completely rationally, only future costs and benefits should be taken into account. Now, this can happen in our personal life, like being in a negative relationship and sticking around in this relationship, or in a business where you're throwing money away at maybe a marketing strategy that hasn't panned out, but then you make the decision to keep spending money on it. Now, at face value, you may think that this is a short-term effect, but in reality, it's more systemic if it's not properly identified or corrected. Now, for example, if you're in that negative relationship and you stick it out, it's only going to make you and that other person more miserable. It can also then potentially affect your family, your friends, and even your career. And in the example of the marketing strategy, if you spend a ton of money on something that doesn't work and you continue spending money on that thing, well, let's just put it this way, eventually you're going to run out of money. Now, this tends to happen because we as humans are not rational decision makers by any stretch or means and are often influenced by our emotions. Sometimes we tend to tell ourselves, let's just keep going, or let's just finish this, and we feel guilty or regretful for not following through, even though a rational thinker would look at our situation and see that we've gone long past a break-even point. It's also because of a particular occurrence called loss aversion, where the impact of a loss feels much worse than the impact of a gain. In other words, it's easier for us to take that L than it is for us to take the W. So how exactly do you avoid this, or maybe mitigate it? Well, the easy answer is to be more self-aware, but that's a challenge in and of itself. So here's a better way to approach it. We need to take a look at the word opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost, by definition, is the potential benefits that an individual or business misses out on when choosing one alternative over another. The big difference between opportunity cost and sunk cost is really the difference between money already spent in the past and potential returns not earned in the future of an investment because the capital was invested elsewhere. So for example, let's say that you invested $10,000 on Zillow ads, and getting money back essentially means that you need to generate a return on ad spend, or ROAS, more than your initial investment. Opportunity cost instead asks the question, where else could I have spent or invested this 10K in a better way to get a return on investment, either better or faster? Now, the good news is when it comes to identifying opportunity costs, there's actually a very simple math equation to follow. It's the return on the best foregone option minus the return on your chosen option equals opportunity cost. Now, let me show you real quickly how to compute this. So let's head over to the iPad, shall we? Okay, so to find opportunity cost, first start by drawing this little table here. And across the top of the table, you're going to want to put the KPIs, or key performance indicators. And in this particular case, the two KPIs that I want to be tracking and measuring are leads captured and appointments that I'm able to convert off of those leads. And in this particular case, I want to compare the opportunity cost between Zillow and Facebook. So across that first column, let's put the strat here, and we're going to put Zillow at the top. We're going to do Facebook ads at the bottom. And let's say, for example's sake, we invest that same 10K that I alluded to earlier in this video. And of that 10K, we were able to generate, I don't know, let's say 50 leads. And of the 50 leads, we were only actually able to make 2 appointments. Now, in terms of Facebook, let's say that I invested the same 10K and I got 100 leads. And of the 100 leads, I was actually able to create or generate about 15 appointments. Now, all you're simply doing here in order to find opportunity costs is just finding the ratio between the two and figuring out what the higher number is. So if we take 50 over 50, that's equal to 1. So we do the same math, 2 over 50, and that's equal to 0.04 or 4%. Now let's do the same kind of math or logic with Facebook ads. Let's do 100 over 100, which is equal to 1. Or in this case, let's take that same 15 appointments and divide that over 100, and that gives us a percentage of 0.15 or 15%. So clearly, based off of calculating our opportunity costs, we can see that the definitive winner here is the 15% or the Facebook ads. So the next step is really writing out this question, or I should say this sentence. Zillow's opportunity cost of producing 2 appointments is 50 leads, and Facebook's opportunity cost of producing 15 appointments is 100 leads. And the reality is Facebook is the clear winner here. Super easy, right? All right, now the idea here is that the next time you find yourself wanting to invest money into something like a new strategy, really ask yourself, is there a better way to invest this money? Then run through this exact same exercise and identify with measurable numbers and not emotion if there is in fact a better opportunity elsewhere. Now, quick side note here, that if you haven't figured it out yet, I gave you some really random numbers as an example. And in the particular case of trying to identify which is the better opportunity cost, you're gonna have to draw a realistic hypothesis on them, or maybe try budgeting out a small, very minimal allocation of money to really try to figure out what these true numbers are. Then you can plug into this equation and see if the decision that you're trying to make for this particular strategy or opportunity is truly viable. Now, if you want to dig into this a little bit more, or maybe some more viable solutions specifically with marketing strategy, then I highly recommend you click below, join our free Facebook group. We talk all things digital marketing and really nerd out on cool stuff and really nerdy things just like this. However, if you want to dig into the math a little bit more, then I highly recommend that you check out this video here where I go deep into how to properly compute CPA, or cost per acquisition, which essentially means the amount of money it costs for you to acquire a new client. It's simple math, just like I showed you here today, so I highly recommend you check it out. Aside from that, have a great day, everybody.